Good afternoon, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and let people in as they start showing up. Hopefully, we don't have too many stragglers. Could I get a thumbs up just to make sure everyone can hear me? Thank you, Emily. All right, so today what we're going to be doing is going through the basics of the DHCAS application system. I'm here to answer any questions. Some of you may have gotten started on this already. It did open up a little bit earlier than it has in the past. Historically, November 1st is about when the application cycle opened. We did open up just a few days before that. So some of you may have already gotten a chance to poke around and look at the application, which is great. I'm just here to answer any last minute questions if you've already done that. So before we get started, adea.org, adea.org is going to be the website you go to find the DHCAS application. You can go ahead and honestly just do a Google search for DHCAS, and it should be the very first hit that you pull up right here. Just to clarify too, I will be recording this session and placing it on the Moodle. So if you decide to go back and watch, or if you need a refresher, I will have this on Moodle and I will replace last year's application with this year's video. Before we get started with the DHCAS application, you are going to need to register for a DENT PIN. Many of you have already done that since you've taken the ATDH exam. But on ada.org, you can register for your DENT PIN. And again, I always just like to show people you can do a quick Google search for DENT PIN. It should be the very first hit on Google. All of your info here to register for that is there. And then finally, you do need for this cycle the ATDH exam. I did clarify with Ms. Walsh that they are requiring both the ATDH and either an ACT or SAT exam. And so for those of you who did enter LSU as test optional, or if you did, maybe you took the exam, but you didn't submit it here, it is important that you go ahead and submit those test scores, both the ATDH and the ACT, SAT, during this application cycle. If you haven't taken an exam, it's going to be worth trying to have it scheduled. You may not be able to take the ACT or SAT in enough time for this cycle, but set up a meeting with me and we'll kind of talk through your options there. Now, if you did miss the window for the ATDH, you do have the option here to take the DAT, the DAT, which is the dental admission test. I will just kind of give a word of warning. This is a much more rigorous test, and it is a much more expensive test. So ideally, the ATDH is going to be the test that you've completed, but you do have the option here for the DAT as well. So that all being said, let's go ahead and dig into the DHCAS application. And I'm just going to go ahead and click to apply to DHCAS from ADEA. I've already got an account, but if you don't have one, now would be a good time to create an account. One word of warning that I have is that I do not recommend using your @lsu.edu email address. Now, I use it because this is how I access the advisor portal. For you guys, especially since for some of you, you're finished with your dental hygiene prereqs, you may only be interested in dental hygiene as a career, and you may not be coming back. If you're you're not selected, you may just want to go ahead and apply to dental hygiene again. To save your application for next year, try to use an email address that you've got access to all of the time. A good Gmail or Yahoo address would be appropriate. you'll go ahead and click on create an account, and all of your basic demographic info should be filled out here. Again, just very, very basic here. My advice is not to use your at lsu.edu email address, just so you do have access to the application if you decide to leave at another point in time. So I'm gonna go ahead and sign in. And the application itself is broken down into 4 different areas. Now I've logged into this already, so I'm gonna go back in just a second to show you. When you do first log in, you are going to be given the option to select your program. So I went ahead and selected Louisiana State University entry-level bachelor's degree. You are able to select any other dental hygiene programs that you might be interested in, however. And so we're going to pick just 1 or 2 so you can maybe see how some of these applications differ from one another. So let's go ahead and do University of Tennessee. And let's see. Is New Monroe on here? They're not on right now. We'll just stick with the University of Tennessee from, let's do Tennessee Wesleyan as well, just since they're nearby. And so once you've selected all your programs, your application, if you have filled out the application before, you'll also be given an option to import your personal information from the previous year. That should import most everything from the personal information, academic history, and supporting information. There may be a few updates you'll have to make. I am going to go through these one at a time. A lot of this is pretty general. Under personal information, right here, under agreement statement, it is extremely helpful. One, you'll have to go ahead and agree to using DHCAS. Go ahead and click both of these. It is extremely helpful for you to click yes to the release of name and contact information. Continue on to the next section. You can fill out your biographical information here. Contact information. All of this stuff is pretty boilerplate. They do ask for citizenship, and with the LSU New Orleans program, they do give preference to Louisiana residents. They actually require Louisiana residency, so you do have to complete that there. You are required to go ahead and put in your dent pin here. So again, really important that you've got that there. The other questions here, are you a first generation student? Do you have relatives? Make sure you answer each of these things honestly, because that can help with the overall. But the release of information over here is really, really important in terms of just gathering good data so that I can help you guys and help future students as well. So I really appreciate it when you do fill that out. But that kind of wraps things up for that personal information section. This section really shouldn't take you guys more than 5 to 10 minutes to run through. We're going to drop down to supporting information. This is broken into 3 different sections. You have your experiences, certifications, and achievements. Experiences really is kind of broad. And so you've got, of course, your dental hygiene and dental work experience and shadowing experience. And I would separate those 2. So I think the difference here is that if you worked for a dentist or a hygienist, if you were paid, go ahead and include that under work experience. If you observed, include that under shadowing. If you maybe had unpaid internship. I would probably go ahead and consider that work experience, since you actually had some hands-on shadowing. I think really does indicate that like you observed but didn't interact, and so kind of use that to set up your experiences there. Non-dental healthcare experience. Yeah, this might be good if, say, you have I got a lot of people with PT tech experiences, but anything healthcare related, I think it's important to go ahead and throw those experiences into. I would very much include things like employment, volunteer work, extracurriculars. Like, really don't be afraid to build things out here. I can think to years past where I had students who, they were good on paper, but they interviewed really poorly. And I heard the dental school tell me, it really seemed like they didn't have a lot of life experience. They had never worked a job. They had never dealt with an angry customer. And, those experiences can really mean a lot when you've got somebody in the chair. And so even if it's something like waiting tables, I'd go ahead and include that. Show that you are a real person who lives, breathes, and interacts in this world. So I would spend really as much time as you've got filling out these experiences here. Like, don't undersell something. If you go to the dog shelter and you walk a dog an hour a week, go ahead and include that in here. Certifications, I don't expect you guys to have a lot of these. And this is kind of like wide open, but like some of you may have like a first aid certification or CPR or any professional certification that you've earned. Again, go ahead and include this, and it only helps your resume out. On achievements, these really boil down to honors and awards. And again, I would be very, very generous with what you put down here. If you have the TOPS award, I would go ahead and include the TOPS award. If you've got, I worked at Winn-Dixie when I was in high school and college, and I received a little $1,000 scholarship from them every year for writing a paper. And apparently, like, no one wrote the paper, but I wrote the paper and I got the scholarship every year. But it was an award that I won, and so I would include those awards. If you are an officer in your sorority or fraternity, I'd include that under honors. If you've earned the dean's list or the president's list, or president's honor roll, again, I'd go ahead and include those experiences. Really, really build this out. If you've got it, flaunt it. There's no such thing as having too much in this experiences section. And again, I do hear this coming to pass a lot of time for candidates, that they really like to pull on these experiences. So I would definitely go ahead and include that. And certainly if you don't have anything to add here, you can click that, you're just not adding any achievements or certifications. And we'll go back to the main application from here. Academic history is the component that really is going to take you most amount of time. And so it's really where I want to spend a lot of time on here. And so under these acknowledgements here, again, you're going to want to make sure you say yes to everything. Only once you click off on everything can you click save and continue. Essentially, you are saying that you are entering everything truthfully. You're going to enter information from all colleges and high schools you've attended, and that you must send final transcripts, final official transcripts, which we're going to talk about, to DHCAS. All right, so now that I've done that, I can add my high school. And so I went to Chalmette High School out in Chalmette, Louisiana. I graduated a long time ago. Some of you may not have been born when I graduated. Let's see graduated in May of 1999. For high school, that's all you've really got to do. I'm going to click on it. They're not going to give you anything else to add. Colleges or universities. So here's where things can get a little bit tricky. I'm going to go ahead and start with LSU. And one thing I want to show everyone is that you do have a couple of options. And by typing in Louisiana, there's a few things that pop up. You have LSU A&M Baton Rouge, LSU Alexandria, LSU Baton Rouge, LSU Eunice, LSU Health Sciences Center, LSU Shreveport, LSU Medical Shreveport. For your transcripts to line up properly, you really need to select LSU A&M College Baton Rouge. The LSU Baton Rouge here, it winds up tying over to the LSU online system, which is different than taking classes that are offered online through our main campus. So you definitely want to go through and make sure that you have selected LSU A&M College Baton Rouge. If you've already started working on this, do yourself a favor, go back and double check that it says LSU A&M College. If you submit it with LSU Baton Rouge, I wouldn't fret too much. I have seen DHCAS make the switch on the back end, but it does add time to that verification process. So try to save yourself some time and just select LSU A&M College Baton Rouge. Did I obtain, or am I planning to obtain, a degree from this university? The answer to this most of the time is no, since most of you are simply pursuing your prerequisites. You're going to select no. Now, if you happen to be in, say, kinesiology or psychology and you're earning your degree, like you're going to graduate this May, you can go ahead and say yes to that. And they'll ask, what degree was awarded? Is the degree in progress? When do you plan to earn that degree, etc. But for most of you, this answer is going to be no. And we are on the semester system. I'm going to go ahead and just say that, yes, I'm still attending the university. And I will just go ahead and lie here and say that my first semester was in the fall, in August of, let's say, 2020. And so once I've done that, I'm given the option to either add another college. Maybe I went to, let's just say I went to BRCC. I attend the degree. No, they were semester system. I'm going to say no, I'm not attending this university. And maybe I did dual enrollment during my senior year of high school. So I'll just put the fall and spring of 2019, 2020. So any dual enrollment coursework that you have, again, make sure that you've got that university or community college represented here. It will make your life a whole lot easier. To order your transcripts. Now, I don't know how it works for other schools, but for LSU, we are going to use it used to be Credential Services, but LSU's migrated over to Parchment. And so make sure you do select Parchment for the electronic transcript. Once you click on that, you can click on Visit Parchment Now. It's not going to let me do much more than that since I don't have the account here, but you can go ahead and type in Louisiana State University. I guess where this gets confusing is this one will say LSU Baton Rouge. You'll log in with your email address and move forward. I from there. There's a small fee associated with this when you do it. You can request a mailed transcript from the registrar's office. However, it's my understanding that LSU no longer mails our own transcripts, so they're going to refer you over to parchment. But say if you were going to BRCC and needed a mailed transcript, that's how you would do it. But to order your electronic, you can order it through parchment. I'm just going to say that I'm going to do this later onto the transcript entry. And so I'm actually going to go ahead and start with Baton Rouge Community College. And I'm just going to say that I took fall, my 2019. See, it's only giving me 2019 and 2020 for BRCC because that's when I said I started there. So I will call myself a freshman, even though this was dual enrollment. I will say that I completed this, and we're just going to make things easy. I don't know BRCC's course numbers, so I'm just going to call this English 101. It is really important that you use the course numbers and the course abbreviations that each school uses. So like at LSU, this would have been English 1001. But we're going to say BRCC is English 101. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But make sure you do go and check your transcripts and your records appropriately there. And we'll say that we did this. Just say we aren't an A. And I'm going to click save. And then I'll go ahead and add another semester. We'll do the fall 2020. I'm going to add a semester here. And since this is dual enrollment, I'm just going to assume I'm only taking one class per semester. And let's just say that I took college algebra. And again, I'll use a different number because I know BRCC does use a different numbering scheme than we do. Just not positive of what those numbers are off the top of my head. And one thing here, like I could select mathematics, but as you scroll down, when you select programs, they will outline different prerequisites. And so this is where it gets interesting. Like LSU Baton Rouge does say math, whereas this University of Tennessee, they're saying college algebra. My suggestion is to use both your top choice school, and many of us are only applying to LSU. But you know, when you have a choice, kind of go through. It looks like they don't give us the option to say college algebra, so we're just going to use mathematics as the course subject here. Just say that I made a B- in that one. And so for BRCC, that was all that I took. So I'm going to go ahead and jump over back to transcript entry and go ahead and click on LSU. You can also preview what the transcript looks like just to make sure it looks good. And let's fill out the rest of our time here. So we will go ahead and add a fall term. So fall 2020 as a freshman. Completed it. And we'll go ahead and look at LSU's coursework now. So we can do bio 1001. You know what? I actually did something wrong here. You do have to put the course title under course title. I put the course number. So the course code should be the subject and the number. So please disregard my BRCC work before. I'm not going to build the whole thing out just for the sake of time. But I want to do a couple of things. Let's say we have bio 1001. Let's say you also did chemistry 1001. Well, let's just say with chemistry, we did not do so well. Let's just say that we made a D in that class. So we'll say we made a D in chemistry. And let's pick a, let's say maybe you had some AP credit for psychology 2000. I'd go ahead and put the AP credit in your true freshman year. Again, just wherever it was granted to you from. So we'll do Psych 2000. That is going to be a P grade. So anything that you earned AP credit for, you're going to put the letter P. And let's just add a few other examples. Let's say you took sociology 2001. Let's say you withdrew from it. So you have a W grade on your record here. So I'm not going to build out the rest of this semester. I am going to add another semester in freshman year. And really the only thing I'm going to do with that one is show that I repeated chemistry here. So you all can kind of see what happens if you are in that situation. So we're going to repeat Chem 1001. Now, LSU offers a grade exclusion policy, but for dental hygiene, for DHCAS, even if you enacted the grade exclusion policy, you are going to be required to put both attempts at this course on the DHCAS application. So I'll kind of show you what that looks like. And so in reality, you guys are going to go through and build out your whole semester. Now, let's just add two more so you can kind of see for the fall of this semester. Sophomore, you are going to go ahead and select that it's in progress, that you are currently taking your classes right now. And so when you add a course here to the in progress, you're going to notice that you're allowed the option to click here, but you can't actually type in your grades because you haven't earned it yet. So we'll go ahead and click save, and then we'll go into the next semester as well. Because again, many of you have scheduled or will be scheduling for the spring. So go ahead and just make sure to include whatever you've got, because we're going to select in progress and planned. And I'm going to go ahead and do and so here's a good example. Like I'm choosing anatomy and physiology for these two subjects instead of biology, just because it's a little bit more appropriate. It's a little bit of a better descriptor. And so your application is going to look different. You're going to have your semesters built out, but for the sake of time, this is all I'm going to do with this today. And so we're going to go ahead and jump back to the academic history. Once you are done, you're going to go ahead and click review and verify my transcript. You are going to ask which was your primary college. So in this case, since you did just dual enrollment here at BRCC, LSU will be your primary college. And they ask right away, did you repeat any classes? Well, yeah, I did. I did repeat chemistry. And they'll ask you to select classes that you repeated below, and you've got to go through and select your college. And so chemistry, I have to select both attempts at the chemistry that I repeated. So let me go ahead, and those are the only ones I have. So I'm going to click I'm done. Did I receive advanced placement credit? Well, yeah, I did. So Let me go and find that. None over at BRCC. But I do have this P credit here for general psychology, so I'll select that. Did I receive credit for any additional tests other than AP exams? That could include like CLEP or IEB. In this case, I didn't put that, but if you did, this is where you would put it. So I'm just going to say no here. Did I take any honors courses? No, I didn't, but if I did, this is where you would select that. No study abroad, and that's it. So once you do that, you know, the system notices I didn't add any experiences, but I'm gonna go ahead and skip ahead there. Last but not least, we're going to go over to program materials, and it will give you an option for each school to kind of look at their different program materials. I'm going to start with LSU. It is pretty straightforward, and they do spell out a few different things here. Number one, that your application is due by December 30th. Now, it's a little bit misleading. I'll get into that in just a bit. But they will really, because they want all of your information received by December 15th. I do want to put a word of warning out there. Don't wait until December 14th to submit your ACT, to submit your application. Technically, it's due by the 30th, but they want to receive some of these other things by that point in time. You are required to have an ACT score of 20 or higher, and so they will accept a super score. But you do have to send those ACT scores there. So I know that is a bit different than the main campus's admission policy. They do have some questions here. They ask, which standardized tests have you taken? And so you can do the ACT and SAT or other. For this question, they are talking about ACT, SAT, not necessarily ATDH, but I'll save that. Under documents, you're asked to do a couple of things. We're going to come back to the personal statement, but right here is where you can provide a copy of your ACT or SAT score. And you'll notice this year we have a second box. In previous years, you were not able to add the ATDH. This is where you can go ahead and add that question as well. I do see some questions coming through. I will make sure to get to those in just a second. Let me get through this section first. We're going to come back to your personal statement. Under evaluations, this is where you can send your letters of recommendation. And so first things first, I would, in my personal experience, I would reach out to your professor or your dental hygienist or dentist that you're seeking a recommendation from first. Verify that they will be giving you a letter of recommendation, and you can fill out their information here. And you can give them a due date. My advice is to give them a due date kind of like on or around, maybe before the 15th, maybe the 9th or the 10th of December. You can write them a little note. Thank you for writing this letter for me. In my experience, it is the best idea to waive your rights to read this letter. It usually just signifies that you're pretty confident they're going to write you a good letter. You give permission to DHCAS to submit the reference, and you understand that the schools you're applying to can read this letter, and you'll click save this evaluation request. I'm not going to do that because it's going to send me an evaluation request. On prerequisites, they will ask you to go ahead and assign your courses. So like under sociology, I can go through like LSU and I can go assign my intro to sociology. Well, I withdrew from that one, but I could still do that. So you do a couple of things. You can actually click back and go select each one, or you can go through and select English. Now I took my first English at BRCC, so I'll select that here. My second might have come from here, but I didn't go ahead and put that in. Chemistry, same thing. And I'm going to go ahead and put every attempt that I did on chemistry. And so when you're done doing that, you'll click save and exit. And what is kind of neat is you will get this little report of your classes being assigned. I want to jump over to a different program just in case some of us are applying to multiple programs. Let's see. So this is a good example. This is what I was looking for. So they're looking for Anatomy and Physiology 1 and Anatomy and Physiology 2. Well, we don't offer Anatomy and Physiology this way. What we do offer is Human Anatomy as one course. And so in that situation, I'd go ahead and select one of the two. The one, I guess I'll go ahead and start with Human Anatomy first. And then for Anatomy and Phys 2, I'll select the other course. So it winds up being the same content, just it's offered in a slightly different format. You might encounter that if someone looks for Biology 1 lab and Biology 2 lab, that might pop up there. But going back to LSU, I want to go back to the documents here and talk a little bit about your personal statement. And so you are given the option to upload your personal statement, and on the course Moodle, I just updated, so it'll be underneath the DHCAS application workshop. Now, this is last year's workshop, so this video will be updated in the next day or so after I'm done with this. But just below that, I have this pre-health statement prompt, and this is a wonderful document that I got over from the Career Services Office, and it really gives you a lot of insight into how to put together a really, really good personal statement. And so I really encourage you to download this and really ask yourself, some of these prompts, like, why do I want to be a dental hygienist? Why do I want professional education? How will my education as a dental hygienist help me fulfill my personal and career goals? Why am I interested in this specific program? And I think some of these things will help you really just put together a nice personal statement for this program. There's really no rights or wrongs. I would say that 1 to 2 pages is a really good size for a personal statement, and that the 3 major content areas really are: who am I, why am I applying to dental hygiene, and why would I be a great candidate? But I think this is a fantastic tool that can really help you guide yourself through that process. And once you've got that, you'll upload this here. Once everything is complete, which mine isn't, but once everything is, you will just go ahead over to submit application. They'll give you your fees, and I'm going to remove these programs here. And so it is based on each individual program, how much it costs to apply. You won't be able to click submit here until everything over here is completed. Once you do that, you will be able to see the status of your application. And so with all of that being said, I'm going to go ahead and start looking through some of these questions. Feel free to unmute yourself and talk, but I'm going to go ahead and read through each one here. So first question it has is, if we completed a dual enrollment course at LSU in high school, do we enter the semester we completed it as our first semester? Yes, that's a great question. And so, say you started LSU this semester, this fall, but you took dual enrollment in high school last spring would be your first semester of enrollment. So that's a very good question. Placement test, should it be a P or a CR? I would go ahead and default to whatever credit you received on your transcript. So At LSU, we do put the letter P for placement test credit, and we consider it the same as AP, CLEP, or IEB. BRCC might give you a CR, or Southeastern might give you a CR. So that's a really good question. And ultimately, it depends on who awarded you that credit. So wherever that credit lies on your transcript, whatever it looks like on your transcript, go ahead and follow the same lettering and grading that is on the transcript there. Good question. Do we need to contact a DIA to resend our ATDH scores to LSU, or just to upload a screenshot on the document? Ashley, to my knowledge, you just need to upload the screenshot of the document to the DHCAS application here. Same kind of question here. Same for the ACT. Yes, you can submit a screenshot or an upload of your, I think ACT does give you a PDF. You can upload that to the document as well. Question here about reordering transcripts after submitting the application. Ashley, can you expand on that? Do you mean like updating your transcript after you've submitted it to show your next semester's grades? What were you asking there?
So LSU's final grades are due on December 16th. And on the 15th, that's when we need to submit the application. So how would that work with DHCAS after submitting the application? Could you go back to reorder the transcripts?
Right. Yeah, that's a really good question. And yes, so right now, and how I would handle this is because of just the timing of everything on the academic history under the transcript entry. I would consider the fall as in progress. That way, when you do submit your initial transcript, it's not going to have your final grades on it, so that it matches with that in progress statement. There is a point in time where you can do an update. You've got to submit your application though. So there is a point in time, and it'll happen in January, and you'll get under the check status, you'll get the option to show that you can update your transcript. You won't see it until then though, but once that option opens up, you can submit the new transcript that will hopefully, well, it should include your final grades for the fall semester, as well as any updates to your spring semester. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So you'll be given the options updated after you've submitted. We've got about 15 minutes remaining, and so that is the great bulk of everything I had prepared for you guys here. I'm open for questions. If you want to hang out and chat, we can do that. But other than that, if any individual questions come up, feel free to email me. I'm going to have this recording up on the Moodle in the next day or so. If anything else comes up,